The hatch slams. 25 people shoulder to shoulder in a sealed orange capsule the size of a van. Emergency lighting flickers on. Body heat climbs. The air thickens. Someone knocks a knee into a locker and within an hour asks the question, no safety briefing ever answered, where do you go to the bathroom? There is no bathroom. There is a bucket. The first thing you reach for is stranger. Your hand finds a small blister pack of pills tucked into the supply locker. Anti-seasickness tablets. Every person on board takes one immediately, even the ones who have spent 20 years at sea and never felt a wave in their stomachs. That sounds like an insult in the middle of a crisis. Your ship just went down, and someone is handing you motion sickness medicine. But the tablets are not medicine in any normal sense of the word. They are a weapon, and the enemy they are fighting is not nausea. Water inside that lifeboat is finite. 3 liters per person, sealed in containers, and that supply has to stretch for days, maybe a full week before rescue arrives. Every drop matters in a way that is almost impossible to feel until you are actually rationing it with a measuring cup. Seasickness attacks that supply directly. Vomiting pulls fluid straight out of the body, and in a survival situation, every episode of sickness is water leaving the boat that can never come back. But the real danger is not one person getting sick. It is what one person's sickness does to everyone else. A sealed capsule traps everything. The sound hits first, retching, echoing off metal walls in a space too small to escape it. Then the smell finds you, thick and warm in air that is already stale. The swaying does the rest. One stomach gives out, and the chain reaction rolls through the boat like a wave of its own, body after body losing fluid that was already counted down to the last milliliter. The tablets exist to stop that cascade before it starts. You do not take them because you feel sick. You take them because the person sitting 6 inches from your face might, and your body will follow theirs whether you want it to or not. But protecting water only matters if the amount you are protecting is enough. It is not. 3 liters. That is what the rulebook gives each person. 6 small water bottles sealed in a locker, and that has to carry you through however many days the ocean decides to keep you. The math breaks immediately. A human body at rest in mild conditions burns through roughly 2.5 liters a day, just keeping itself alive. Inside a sealed capsule, where body heat from 25 people pushes the temperature well above what the air outside is doing, that number climbs. The water supply was never designed to be enough. It was designed to buy time, and time is measured carefully. A rust-proof cup sits in the locker beside the water containers, and its job is not generosity. It is control. Thirst does something specific to the human mind. It sharpens desperation, erodes judgment, and convinces people that their need is greater than the person sitting next to them. The cup takes that decision away from the individual and hands it to arithmetic. Everyone gets the same measured amount at the same interval, and the cup is the only authority enforcing it. Food follows the same punishing logic. Each person receives 10,000 kilojoules of energy, roughly 1 solid meal, packed as dense biscuits that taste like dry shortbread and sit in the stomach like cement. They are not designed to satisfy hunger. Hunger is not the threat. The biscuits deliver just enough energy to keep muscles shivering through cold nights and brains thinking clearly enough to follow instructions. Comfort never entered the calculation. So the kit bets everything on rescue arriving before the water runs out. But it also hedges that bet. Tucked alongside the rations, you will find rainwater collectors that funnel whatever the sky offers into storage, and solar stills, simple devices that coax fresh water out of seawater using nothing but heat and condensation. The ocean that is trying to kill you also holds the backup supply, if you have the tools and the patience to extract it, drop by drop. But water going into the body is only half the equation. Water coming out creates a problem the rulebook almost entirely ignores. 6 hours in, the biscuits are working through 25 digestive systems. The water rations are doing their job. And biology arrives with a demand that no amount of engineering elegance can make dignified. The life-saving appliance code, the same rulebook that specifies the exact number of tin openers, the precise caloric content of every ration pack, and the minimum burn time of every flare, is essentially silent on sanitation. No mandated toilet, no mandated waste containment system. Some modern lifeboats carry a basic chemical toilet or a bucket with a lid. Many carry nothing at all. The most universal human need is left to whatever improvisation 25 panicking people can manage in a space smaller than a studio apartment. The physical reality escalates fast. A sealed capsule with minimal ventilation ports is already fighting temperature. Body heat from a full load of people pushes the interior well above the air outside. Stress drives sweat. Breathing thickens the humidity. Now layer human waste into that environment with no plumbing, no drainage, and no barrier between the source and the people pressed against each other on every side. The air inside that capsule does not forgive. But this is not just a comfort problem wearing a disgusting mask. It is a medical one. Contamination in an enclosed space with almost no water available for cleaning breeds bacteria at a speed that turns a survivable weight into a health crisis. Gastrointestinal illness takes hold. Illness triggers vomiting and diarrhea. Both of those drain fluid from the body at exactly the moment when every milliliter of water is already spoken for. The missing toilet connects directly back to the same lethal arithmetic as the seasickness tablets. Every fluid lost is distance gained toward the edge of dehydration, and dehydration is the threat that kills before hunger, before exposure, before despair. The same regulatory system that counted 3 tin openers and measured anti-seasickness doses down to the tablet left the one guaranteed biological certainty to chance. But where the rulebook does obsess, it obsesses with a paranoia that borders on compulsive, and the reason involves things breaking. 3 tin openers sit in the locker. Not 1, not 2, 3. One might rust shut in the salt air. Another might slip from wet fingers and vanish over the side. But as long as a single opener survives, so does access to food. That logic runs through the entire kit like a nervous system that expects its own limbs to fail. 2 axes stored at opposite ends of the boat. If wreckage or flooding blocks the bow, the stern axe is still within arm's reach, ready to chop through a jammed rope or hack an escape through debris. 2 painter ropes, because the first one does a job so critical it cannot be shared. When the lifeboat drops from a moving ship, that rope holds the nose pointed forward like a string holding a kite steady in the wind. Tension keeps the boat tracking straight. Slack lets the rushing water catch the hull broadside and flip everything over. The second painter exists precisely because the first one cannot be touched, so it becomes the spare that handles everything else, towing a life raft, lashing equipment, rigging a makeshift sea anchor from a bucket if the real one tears apart. The sea anchor itself carries that same assumption of failure built into its deployment. A large fabric cone streamed underwater to drag against the current and slow the boat's drift. It works like a parachute beneath the surface. But fabric rips, lines chafe, salt water eats through materials that seem strong on land. So the kit includes buckets and buoyant oars and enough spare line to rebuild the entire drag system from parts that were officially packed for other purposes. And bolted directly to the hull, a survival manual that physically cannot be swept away or lost in a scramble, because the designers understood that panic erases memory and the instructions must survive even when clear thinking does not. But all of this redundancy only matters if someone out there is searching, and the tool that makes that happen is one most people have never seen. Flares get all the attention. 4 rocket flares that scream 300 meters into the sky and burn red for 40 seconds. 6 handheld flares that cut through rain and darkness at close range. 2 smoke floats that pour thick orange clouds across the water for a search plane scanning from above. A signaling mirror that catches sunlight and hurls it to the horizon. A searchlight for carving through black ocean at night, backed by a spare torch with extra batteries and bulbs so the light never simply dies. A whistle and an air horn for the moments when fog swallows everything and sound becomes the only language left. The arsenal is impressive. It is also almost entirely reactive. Every one of those tools requires the same thing to work. A rescuer already close enough and already looking in your direction. A rocket flare burning for 40 seconds over empty ocean with no ship within visual range is just a beautiful waste. The smoke drifts. The mirror flash hits nothing. The searchlight sweeps water that nobody else is watching. If your ship went down fast, if the distress call never went out, if the satellite alert failed, then nobody is searching your grid square. The flares sit in the locker fully loaded and completely useless. The device that actually solves that problem is the one nobody films. The EPIRB, an emergency position indicating radio beacon, is a small battery-powered unit that activates the moment it hits water or the moment a hand triggers it manually. It does not need a nearby ship. It does not need line of sight. It does not need anyone to be looking. It talks directly upward to a global satellite network called COSPAS SARSAT, which locks onto the signal, calculates the position, and relays coordinates to rescue centers that can dispatch assets from hundreds of miles away. The ocean can be completely empty around you, and the EPIRB still reaches across it, pulling rescue toward a point on the map that you could never communicate with smoke or fire alone. Alongside it sits the SART, a search and rescue transponder that paints a distinctive ring of blips on any approaching ship's radar screen, turning your lifeboat from background noise into a clear target during the final approach. The flares earn their moment then, guiding the last miles. But between the beacon's silent reach and rescue's actual arrival sits the hardest stretch of all, and the tool the rulebook packs for it is the strangest item aboard. Hooks, line, a small net. Every lifeboat on Earth carries a complete fishing kit because international law demands it. You are floating in the middle of the ocean, surrounded by fish, holding the tools to catch them. The logic writes itself. It is also dead wrong. Raw fish is pure protein, and protein is expensive for the body to process. Digestion pulls water from tissue and blood to break it down, and in a lifeboat where every milliliter of fresh water is already counted against a shrinking timeline, that metabolic cost is a price you cannot pay. Eating your catch without a secure, renewable water supply accelerates the one thing most likely to kill you. Hunger moves slowly. Dehydration sprints. A person who eats fish and drains their body's remaining fluid reserves dies faster than the person who sits still and eats nothing at all. You would only ever use the kit for food if rain had filled your collectors, if the solar stills were producing reliably, if rescue was confirmed and the timeline certain. Most of the time, none of those conditions exist, so the fishing tackle stays in the locker as a food source that cannot safely be used for food. So why carry it? Morale. Day 2, inside a sealed capsule with no privacy and no certainty, drags the mind toward dark conclusions. Boredom thickens into hopelessness. Hopelessness curdles into panic. And panic in a confined space with 24 other people spiraling alongside you is where survival situations collapse. The fishing kit gives idle hands a purpose and anxious minds a direction. It feeds something the ration biscuits cannot touch. Every item inside that locker exists because someone once died without it, and every single one is identical, no matter which ship you abandon. Same flares, same biscuits, same 3 tin openers. A global rulebook decided, Every life at sea deserves the exact same kit. But everything we just walked through sits inside a lifeboat lowered gently on cables. There is another kind that free falls off the stern and slams into the ocean nose first. A single curve in the hull turns that fatal drop into physics the spine can survive. Subscribe, and we take that fall together.